Back to the emergency storage shed for this week. We are up to episode 89. Hey guys, Chris and the Ultimate Recycler. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, you've missed 88 episodes of amazing treasures being found in this shed, amongst other great playlists. I have a playlist on this, so check it out. We have a cabinet behind me that I've been working down and unpacking boxes, and there's some mystery stuff to come that I just don't know what's in those trunks. Let's have a look and see where we're up to. If you are new to this channel, I'm standing right at the door, and when we started this series, you could barely squeeze in the door and you had to shuffle sideways to go through to the main shed. And this was full to the roof. So we're making some pretty good headway. We're still not even quite halfway, so it's going to be a long-running series. We've got over $14,000 worth of stuff out of here so far, and currently we've been emptying this shelf here. We did half of this shelf last week. We got some really good value out of the cream separator, which is in the shop now. I haven't sold it yet. And now we've got to do the other half. There's a radio, so it looks like some Pyrex baking dishes. I think that's a large, like a meat saw, like a slicer. And a car horn on a breadboard. What's to go with that? Let's get these through to the bench and work out what the hell we're going to do with them. If you are new to the channel, you're probably wondering why this guy has a shed full of stuff that he doesn't know what's in it. Well, I'm a second-hand dealer. I have an antique shop. I've been cleaning out other people's sheds for over 20 years, and it all had to get moved quickly because the property I was in was sold and I was given, 30 days to get out. No, it was about 3 months to get out, but it felt like 3 hours. There was a lot of pressure. That's another series. So all this stuff came from behind my second-hand shop. A lot of it got moved quickly. Some of it was never even unpacked from when we got it out of deceased estate shed. So it's pretty interesting what we're finding. I'll go and get the other stuff. Some of the stuff I do remember. Some of it I know is in there hidden somewhere, and I can't wait to get to a few things I'm thinking of. Other stuff I swear I've never seen before in my life. So do people break into my shed at night and leave things? I don't know. But it's fun. If you like lucky dips, this is the ultimate lucky dip. Let's sort this out and see if we've got much value. I don't think I want to keep any of this, so it will be for sale. Now, I don't think we've got as much value here as the first half of this shelf. The radio is pretty cool, but it's very rough condition. It's lost a button here. Someone has, oh, this is cool. Someone has made a handle out of double core household wiring cable, and they've used the copper. They've stripped the end and wrapped it around to create, it actually just goes around the screw to create an attachment point. So there you go, an electrical, perhaps an electrician's radio, and he repurposed a piece of wiring. Look, I don't know, what are we going to do with that? I don't think it's worth cutting off. If I did have that piece on its own, I would throw it in with my insulated copper wire to sell. Maybe I don't think I'd strip it, but I might as well stay with this radio. I'm not going to keep this one. It's the leatherette type casing. The stitchings come apart. The front grille looks okay. It's quite yellowed. Yeah, that would probably all clean up okay. The dial is just very dusty. It's not broken. So it's really just missing one button. So it's probably actually not in too bad a condition other than this case. We might open the back up and have a look inside. I don't know that I'm going to spend time seeing if I can get it going. I think I might just sell it as is. Bit of a quick clean up. I don't have time to keep every single project, but the plastic fittings seem okay on it. Of course, it's missing the original handle. So I'll clean that up and have a bit better look at that later. Why has someone screwed a car horn to a piece of board? Some big nails. That was obviously attached to something. Looks like it was a kitchen breadboard. I think it's a piece of plywood actually. Maybe it wasn't. And the horn, RVB, I think that's an Australian made brand. I'm not sure what it stands for. A loud sounding alarm. 240 volts. Well, it's clearly not a car horn because they're only 12 volts DC. 82 could be a date. Yeah, I think 1982. There's no screws that go through there. Oh, that's loose actually. Yeah. So we'll test it. I'll take it off the board. It doesn't need to stay on the board. And I guess we can see if it works. Oh, the cord's been cut off. There's the mains cord. We can see if it works, and then at least it's a saleable item. We'll find some screws to put the cover back on. But maybe it doesn't work. That might be why the cover's half off. So we'll check that one out in a minute too. These other pieces here look like Pyrex. They've got stainless steel maybe lids. Let's check that. Oh, they're non-magnetic. They could be nickel-plated brass. And they're a baking dish, I guess. They're a Pyrex. I think it's AG Pyrex. Oh, we have to read it this way. Oh, it's made in England. Yeah, it just says Pyrex, made in England. They're quite nice, vintage baking dishes, probably 1950s or so. They're not actually damaged, so they'll wash up nicely and they'll sell. And especially with the lids, they often have glass lids, these sort of baking dishes, but these ones obviously have metal lids. Very small slither of a chip there. They really just need a wash up, and they'll be at least $10, maybe $15 each in the shop. So that's all right, some good value there. Just need washing. And the last thing is a meat slicer. Very rusty condition. Still have to be careful, it's probably quite a sharp blade. And, oh yeah, it still works. I'm always really wary about putting these in the shop because it doesn't take much for a kid to put their finger on and their brother turn the handle, and next thing you've got a mess and a screaming child and probably a very upset parent. It hasn't happened, but I am conscious of where I put these in the shop because they are so sharp. It's had a mud wasp's nest on here. We'll be able to clean that off. Quite rusty. I think I'm just going to give that a good scrub outside with the hose, and I might take that bracket off the bottom. There's a steel bracket there. It obviously mounted against the edge of a bench. If I take that one off, it will sit flat. And again, I think this isn't worth going to too much trouble, just really a clean up to put it in the shop. And we'll sell it just as a vintage kitchen relic, and someone will buy it, probably just for display. Look, anything's possible. If you had enough time, you could actually clean it right back, get rid of the rust, maybe even get a new blade for it. But it's not going to be something that I think people will really want to use, especially not to cut fingers off little kiddies. So we'll wash that one up. We'll get that in the shop. So just a few clean-up jobs. We will maybe try and see if the radio will run, and we will test the horn. Okay, just giving this radio a bit of a clean-up and a look over. We will try and power it up and see if it works. It's actually going to look a lot better cleaned up. I don't know if there's anything we can do with these cases. I know David Tipton would certainly have some sort of plan for it. But I'm not going to go to the trouble of restoring it. I'm just really going to test it, and someone else can admire the electrician's handiwork and maybe get it going one day. So we'll open it up. I assume, actually, I'll put it on a towel so we don't scratch anything anymore. We don't want any more damage than what's there. And we'll have a look inside. It's going to be a battery radio. There's quite a complicated socket there. I don't know what goes in that. Looks like it's got 5 pins. And then that's probably an antenna input. Now, how does there's 2 screws at the base. One of them's already been removed. I didn't look up what year it is. We'll get to that shortly. I'd say 1950s, late 50s. Oh, it's a bit of a mess in here. So it's a Philips type LAX05T. Serial number. Don't think there's any dates on here. I will look it up online. There'll be somewhere that'll tell me what year it is. I'm going to guess late 50s, I think I said. Bit of a mess in here, isn't it? So I guess that's the battery compartment, and it looks like it may have had some corrosion going on. All original capacitors in here. There's a few residents in here, I think, too, or at least there has been. All right, these unscrew. Well, I don't think that whole thing was supposed to unscrew. It's rusted that end. Let's see what it's like. Oh, nasty green corrosion. Yeah, there's been batteries left in here at some stage. It's going to be pretty difficult to test it, really. I guess we can find where the wires come out of the battery box. That might come right out. It does. There's the wires. Alright, so we can feed some voltage into that. I'm not even going to clean this up. Someone else can do that if they want to try and get it going, but at least we can access the wires. I'll take that other post out. Oh, it's not going to come out. Alright, we'll just poke that down there for now. So I can put my power supply on those wires. It was, how many batteries did it have? They would have, it looks like they stand up, so it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 1.5 would be 9 volts. So we'll give those wires 9 volts and we'll see if anything's going to power up. The circuit board doesn't look corroded, so we might be able to get some noise out of it. The speaker cone looks okay. I don't think it's been eaten by insects. So there's a chance it's actually going to make some noise. Let's take it into the other room and put some power on. Okay, I have 9 volts dialed in on my power supply. Let's connect up to these wires. Hopefully we'll make some connection. They're pretty corroded themselves. Alright, let's turn it around and see if it'll power up. I'll have to relocate the camera. Now we have 3 short waves and a medium wave or broadcast band. It has a button here for music, which may have just been an audio input, so it may work as an amplifier as well. Or maybe that's a mute because it doesn't push the other button up. And this would be a dial light. I don't have anything at the moment. I'm not sure where the on-off switch is. Maybe it's this one. Don't know what that does. It's got a circle with half light, half black. Unless it's a dimmer, but I don't know why it pushes the other. It can't be if it... Oh, here we go. So yeah, I don't know what that button does, because when you press it, it actually disconnects all the other switches. We had some static. Oh, we have a dial light. Excellent. I'm not sure if you can... Oh, I think you can see that on camera. I don't really know what that one does. So it sounds like it's going to work. Very, very noisy volume control, as you'd expect. Looks like the chassis is a bit loose, everything wobbles. Can we tune in a channel? We're on medium wave. Whoa. Okay, I'm going to give up on this now. I don't want to waste too much time on it. I can't get anything other than a bit of static when I move the volume around. Can't pick up any channels, any stations at all. Look, it'll make a nice ornament, or someone may take it on as a project down the track, but it won't be me. So we'll just work out a price. I'll do a bit of a check online to see what year and what model it is. I'm thinking off the top of my head $20, just as an example of a vintage mid-century radio. It will be transistors, so it might be early 60s. I'll look it up, and we'll probably just nominate a $20 price for it. Just about to put this radio away for now, and I've noticed when you turn the tuning control, the dial string is connected and the dial indicator works, as you can see from that spring going across there, but we have no movement of the variable capacitor, so it's obviously seized up and it's just spinning on the pulley, or the pulley's spinning on the shaft actually. So any wonder we couldn't tune it. It may well get a station, but I'm not going to get in there and try and free that up, because it's still only going to be a $20 radio if we get a remote station with a bit of extra static. It needs too much work. But anyway, that's one of the problems that would have to be fixed. Now let's get on to this alarm horn. I've removed the cover and I've removed the horn from the board, so we don't need the board anymore. They were the mounting screws, and there was a little bracket to hold the power cord which went through this outer cover, so we'll have to clean that out. It's a bit messy. So we need to establish if it's working or not, because obviously that will make a difference to what we can get for it. I'm not sure what the numbers here in Texter mean. Looks like 024A AID. Don't know, but I would assume 240 is 240 volt. We certainly have a mains cord coming into it. little connector block. There's a coil which goes around the body of the horn. There's a couple of capacitors here. These reefer or rifer capacitors, I think, are known to be ones that fail and produce a lot of smoke. I think the resin cracks and moisture gets in. These will only be to stop interference. I would imagine the thing will probably work without them anyway, but I'll just check to make sure they're not a short, because that would probably cause issues. Okay, so we can get the meter on here and just test a few things. We're on ohms. I think you can see, can you see the meter there? I think so. And we should have a reading through the coil. So we've got the red wire goes to the coil on that side, and there's a red wire comes out this side that goes to that terminal. So we should get an ohms reading through there, and we have 124 ohms. That sounds quite reasonable. So the coil should be okay. We'll make sure we don't have a short across the capacitors. No, that's open circuit. That's good. All right, that's probably all I need to test to wire, put another cord on it, and see if the thing operates. Okay, a suitable replacement cord has been wired up, so we can now plug it in. I'll plug it in through my appliance tester, and we'll put the earth clamp on here just to make sure it is earthed and everything is safe. Let's see if it makes a noise. It may have been a bit frozen up in the because it's a mechanical oscillating thing. If it hasn't been used for a long time, they can seize up. It might need some adjustment to get a better tone out of it. We'll see what happens when we turn it on. Whoa, there we go. She works. Bit of arcing on the points in there, but that's to be expected. There's probably a fair bit of dust in there. Okay, so I think we can call that working. And it's pretty loud. Actually sounds like a car horn. Yep, the earth's good, test safe. So now I can reassemble it, just give it a wipe over, and it's ready for sale. Now to recap on what we had in this episode, the horn works fantastic. I did clean the points and just adjust the tension nut to get a better tone. And it works every time, and that's very loud. Every time I do that, the dog comes in. The baking dishes cleaned up very nicely. So they're very presentable. They could even be 1940s, those ones. The bread or meat slicer looks magnificent. As a lot of old stuff, when you spray it with a clear lacquer, it just gives that paint a really nice, kind of restored but original. When you repaint them totally, they never quite look original to me. It sometimes looks like a reproduction. This is how I prefer to see my old stuff. Just cleaned up, pretty well as found. And the clear lacquer prevents it from rusting anymore. Gives it a bit of a gloss. Nice and clean to put in the shop. So that's a nice example of an early slicer. I'd say that probably would date to the 1930s or so. All cast iron fittings. So a nice piece there. And the radio actually looks pretty good. It cleaned up quite well. I didn't do anything really other than just brush it with a brush to get the dust off. And as you saw inside, it's, you know, not as good a condition inside. But it might live again if the right person gets hold of it. So back to our notepad then. We have a total of $110. The radio, by the way, was made 1960-61, so I was pretty close with my dates. And I didn't find anything online about one of these horn alarms, 240 volts. All the RVB horns were all 12 volt or 24 volt car ones. So I really just pulled a figure out of the sky for that one. We'll see if we can get 30 bucks for it. Pyrex dishes as explained. And the bread slicer, meat slicer, I put $30 on. So there we go, $110 from the second half of that shelf. That was a really good paying shelf. And not only a good potential return from that shelf, but some really cool stuff to put in the shop. It makes the shop interesting. The cream separator I've got set up there, it looks fantastic. Lots of people who grew up on the farm are reliving memories about having to clean the things. So that sort of stuff, I really kind of don't want to sell first weekend in the shop. I actually upped the price to $150, but I had written down $125 in a notepad. It will sell and it'll look good for a while before it does. So there we go, another episode finished, another shelf emptied in that shed. Tune in next week for another episode of the Emergency Storage Shed Clean Out series. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.